proverb that says that when you train a woman, you train a nation. When you train a woman has the ability to provide some sort of like 3x on ROI or whatever training it is that we give to a woman. If the training is meant to provide some sort of financial freedom, for example, for the woman, which is the case of the women Techsters, we believe that women are able to then provide for their families, which then immediately also allows for the family's income generation to impact that of their immediate community or impact that of the nation. The problem we're trying to solve when we initiated the Women Techsters program is being able to bring women to partake within the opportunities that exist within the technology ecosystem and actually finding a balance, which is having more women join the ecosystem to be able to both partake of the opportunities and also be able to contribute to the industry.
By 2030, we want 5 million women to be empowered with technical skills and use their skills to either start up their tech-enabled businesses, further their career in the tech space, or establish their own tech startups and tech-enabled businesses.
Microsoft has been an amazing and fantastic partner. Just beyond supporting us with funds, has actually gone into supporting us, like giving us technical support, like donating Azure to us, donating licenses to us, and supporting us with other forms of software and hardware to ensure that we're able to deliver effectively on whatever program it is we're partnering on.
Today is the Meet and Greet event that is holding in Lagos State. The Meet and Greet event is organized for our Women Techsters program beneficiaries to be able to have a physical connect. Because of the COVID-19, we're not able to have a physical meet-up. So most of our training has been carried out virtually, and we have women connecting online.
Community building is very important to the Women Techsters initiative. It's a community that allows women to grow, women who haven't ever been in the tech space, to grow, encourage themselves, and just keep on pushing themselves to succeed.
If I were to describe my experience in the Women Techsters program, awesome.
I would say it was phenomenal.
For me, it's inspiring, mind-blowing.
My experience at the Meet and Greet has been so beautiful. It was so nice to say, Amaka, you are Favor, you are Afsat.
So it's been really awesome how that those you related with virtually, you're now able to put a face to the name. I've tried many things. I've tried to go for other classes and it just didn't work out. It looked impossible. At a point, I just felt maybe this is not for me. Tech for the Women Techsters, Microsoft gave me the opportunity to see that it is for me. And it's a big thank you from this end.
I'm so grateful that there's a platform like this that other women can join and scale up in tech.
They're doing so much to see that women become better versions of themselves and go out there and explore tech.
I thank Microsoft for their open hands, for believing so much in the girl child. I think the best way to appreciate these two wonderful organizations is by not stopping here.
To any young woman out there who is trying to get into the tech space, I would say, believe in yourself. You can actually do it. Tech is not as difficult as people think it is. There are tons of career paths within technology that even have nothing to do with you writing a line of code. I mean, for example, there's product design, there's product management, there's data analysis, and amongst others. So I would say to every woman, believe in yourself. Whatever you think you can achieve, you can do it.
name is Olu God's Delight. My dad told me about the program that I'm going to teach about how to use computer. I knew little about computer, so I now told my mom that let me put myself in this program to see if I can improve more on the things I've done before. This experience has been good. The most interesting thing I've learned is how to communicate online.
There's what we call version in Microsoft Word, version 365, version 2016, and version online. So I so much like that version 365 because through that one I know that there is updates there is security there, and also new features are able there.
I'm very excited because the teachers, they taught more about Microsoft, how to open an account, email account, how to open Skype, cyberbullying. They told us to be aware of online scammers, how to be aware of them.
Before I don't have an email, but now I can create an email. The lecturers, in fact, they are wonderful lecturers. There are times when I feel like I want to quit from the learning, they will say, no, don't give up, continue, you'll be able to do it. But today I'm glad that I'm able to participate in the program.
The government decided to partner with Tech for Dev on this to help to upskill the Edo youths, with digital skills. For the beneficiaries, I believe one of the major impacts will be bringing them to speed as to what the fourth industrial revolution is. For example, what the computer is about, what the internet is about.
I would like to say a big thank you to Tech for Dev for this initiative they brought down to the people at the community area. Yeah, I've always loved kits and coding and other programming. So my children having this basic knowledge for now, I intend for them to go further to learn coding, to learn digital marketing and all that.
What I've learned here, I'm planning to share it to my family members, especially my mom, so that she can know what her child has been doing in the program.
Okay, all right, good morning, everyone. It's really a great pleasure to have everyone on this call once again. So I'm greeting everyone, every fellow on this call today, saying good morning, welcoming you all to, another soft skill session. So today is, it's really a great one, right? So this is the beginning of, the inception of the package that we have promised you guys. So it starts today, and I'm very, very sure a lot of us are happy, to learn a lot from this, right? So now to, just to start with, to go ahead with this. So I want to, just first of all, want to give shout outs to, so we want to give shout outs to, everyone, every of our fellows, right? So I want to start, I'm shouting out to every fellow on this call, every tech six, every tech lady, every tech princesses, every tech mom, every tech babies, anyone you want to mention, right? So anything that's related to tech. So I'm greeting everyone and I'm shouting out to every one of us, right? So I'm also shouting out to, our facilitators. I mean, our soft skill facilitator for the previous session, right? So it's really great to, have them come on board, to give us a lot of details about soft skills. These are the things that are very, very important to us, right? And I'm very, very happy we have gotten to learn a lot from this thing, and it's something that's reflecting in our career already, and we are building on it, and I'm very, very happy for every one of us, right? And also, not to forget, I'm also shouting out to everybody that, will be celebrating their birthdays today. We don't forget you guys either. So I'm saying an happy birthday to anybody that is celebrating, any of our fellows that is celebrating birthdays today, right? So, just go ahead now. So I would want us, if you want to give a shout out to us, well, you can just raise a hand, you can drop it on the comment section. So for me to just see it and, we can just read it out to know who you're shouting out to, right? So if you're shouting out to anybody, you can just drop your reaction. I can just read it out to, just for us to go ahead with this, right? Okay, so for our fellows on the YouTube channel, so I'm seeing every one of us giving a shout out. So Paulina is saying tech everything, so she's shouting out to tech. Okay, so Ige like saying she's shouting out to the tech babes, right? Okay, Mary Abetang is saying tech aunties, so she's shouting out to the tech aunties, right? Okay. I'm reading our comment though, so I want to know who you are shouting out to. If just shout out to anybody you feel you want to shout out to, right? Even your mom, anybody you feel comfortable you want to shout out to, right? Okay. All right. So I'm seeing comments from Damilola. She's saying, shout out to all beautiful fellows. We are all standing strong. Yeah. So Grace as well, shouting out to all my tech ladies. That's a great to know. That's a great to know. All right. So not to delay our time, right? Not to just not to bring this too long, right? We have our guest today, right? In person of Kendi Kayode, and normally we have two guests come on board today, right? So first of all, they are going to be coming on to just give us details about CV Clinic and tips and things that are really important for us. And I'm very, very sure a lot of us are, we're happy about this particular thing. We want to learn from this, right? And it's really great to know that we are really, really ready for this, right? So just guys, I'm saying it's a pleasure to be introducing our guests for today once again. So first we have Kendi Kayode and Jennifer Oyelade will be joining us during the course of the program, right? Okay, so to go ahead to introducing Kendi Kayode to us, right? So Kendi, she works as a technical recruiter at Talent QL. She's a professional that has had, a achievements reflects so much in her professional journey, right? And our experiences are, are spanning across several sectors, several fields, ranging from the tech recruitment space down to the project managing, researching, and several other sectors that, that are also very, very prominent and in our life, right? So, and as well, she's also an advocate for social empowerment, right, and economic development. And this impact has really, really reflected, magnitude in numbers, right? Okay, so not just to bore us anymore or give too many details. So I would want us to, just, with so much happiness and so much joy, with so much excitement and cheerfulness, I would want us to, just drop emojis, drop your reactions while we welcome Kendi. Share with us the tips and details you want to give to us today. So I want to see our reaction. Like, I mean, Kendi is ready here. She's ready to, come on board to us and share us, all these details that we really need to know. So I want us to just welcome her with, reactions, emojis, anything that make you feel so excited. All right. So I'm seeing the emojis. I'm seeing keep them coming. All right. So for our fellows on the channel too as well, I'm seeing the emojis, right? Chinaza, she's so happy, everybody's so happy to have you on this call, Kendi. So Kendi, if you can hear me, Kendi, you can just unmute your mic to let us know you're ready for us.
Hi, hello everyone. Hi, Ayatomide. Thank you for having me today. I'm super excited as you are, and I'm super excited as much as every other person on this call is. And I can't wait to have like a very interactive session with everyone. I mean, this is like part of what makes me happy as an individual. And thank you for that introduction, Ayatomide.
All right. Okay, sis wants to say something.
No. I was just saying that your introduction was kept me cracking a bit. So
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. That's so great. All right. So just to just not to delay our time anymore. So I would want you to just give introduction, like just introduce yourself to us. Like let our fellow know you, what you do and anything you feel you want to share with us as well.
Okay. Sometimes when I get the feeling of introduce yourself, I don't know where do I start with. But I'm going to start from somewhere. Like my name is Kendi. In tech enthusiast. I like saying this because I'm just not one person who is fixed to one particular sector or one part of the tech ecosystem. So it's like a whole ball game, and I love the fact that there's so much to explore in the tech space. But basically, I majorly play in the tech recruitment ecosystem at this point. I'm a technical recruiter, a tech talent delivery, or to summarize, I'm a tech talent specialist. So I'm involved in spotting tech talents, reviewing CVs, like working tech talent through recruitment process and etc. I'm also involved in the discussion with tech companies who need to have these people on board. So my role in the capacity of a technical recruiter is like a broad one, and that's what makes it really fun to me. But aside all of this, I'm also somebody who is very enthusiastic with the tech ecosystem. So I love seeing things like metamorphose from an ideation to a big giant. I mean, something that is creating magnificent impact in the world. So aside this, I'm also like a huge champion of women and girls in the tech ecosystem or in leadership roles. I mean, that's like part of what I do on daily basis. Try to encourage people to say, oh, this is not just a male domain. Women also have like a stake to play in the tech ecosystem and even like cross the leadership part of the whole ecosystem. I heavily also play in the non-profit sector, so like everything is just intertwined. But it's like it makes me happy. So above all, like I enjoy what I do, and I hope that more women, more girls, ladies out there could also enjoy the tech ecosystem as much as I am right now. So
All
that's
right. All right. So thank you for that. I mean, that's so great to know. It's really, really, profound, right? To get to know that you do a lot of things in this ecosystem. And I'm very, very sure these are things that our fellows would also want to hear, right? Trying to bridge the gap between the gender gap, like, okay, it's not only the men that can do tech, right? That women too can also, they have the liberty to, explore the tech ecosystem too as well, right? So that's like one of the reasons why we are, bridging this, or having this session and all, right? So to the business of the day, right? So, want to get to know, our fellows want to get to know, things that are related to civic making, writing resumes, how to craft resumes, and how to put themselves in positions for opportunities, as exploring the tech ecosystem, right? So you can just give us details that you really, really want to share with us. So I'm giving you the floor now to just have the juicy details and every things that you want to share with us now.
Okay. Thank you, Ayatomide. So it's looking like I'm dominating the next few minutes or like an hour right now, and that's what I love about it. So it's gonna be a good one for me. I mean, I'm going to be learning as much as I'm also going to be sharing like my own part of the understanding of like how to position yourself in the tech recruitment ecosystem with ladies out here. So it's a two-way thing. I'm learning while also trying to pass across things that I've known. But specifically, what I'll be letting us know from this standpoint is two major things. Like I'm categorizing it into two major processes. First is how to position yourself for the world of work in the tech ecosystem. And the second is about the CV writing. Like, how do you write your CV? Like, what are the essential things that needs to be on your CV? Particularly you as a newbie in the ecosystem. I mean, quite a number of us that are on this call right now, I want to believe, or if I'm not assuming, that we are new into the ecosystem. Most of us do not have professional working experience in the tech ecosystem. So this is like a limelight. This is like a new face. Some of us could have had like work experience in other industries before, but we're like cross-carpeting now to the tech system, which is very applauding. So how do you write CVs when you don't have professional work experience? So these are like the key areas that I'll be looking at. And trust me, all of this are very important. I mean, you can't do without one and think that you have a grasp of it, or you can like break into the tech recruitment ecosystem. As much as I know, as much as I've been playing in this domain, which is like my territory sort of, yes. So those are like the major area that I'll be looking at. I don't know, Ayotomide, if I have the floor to proceed right now, or you have like questions to ask me before I sort of like critically go into the discussion of the day.
So I have no questions from my own hand, right? So you have the floor to give us the details you want to share with us, like I said before.
Okay.
So you have the floor.
Okay, let me see emoji rollings because I am somebody who loves like a very interactive session. So I don't like a solo domain. I don't like me just being the talking. As much as I love talking, I don't want to be the only one like talking. So I want to see if, yeah, okay, thank you. Terry.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Joy. It tells that you are paying rap attention to. Okay, thank you so much. That's gives me a validation that I'm not just speaking to myself, but I'm speaking to people who are very willing to hear from me as well. So let's go forward to the point of positioning yourself in the tech recruitment space. Now, the tech talent space has revolved over the years. It's not like 10 years ago or 20 years ago where we have fewer people in this domain. And so there's this like a lot of need, but we have limited supply. Although Nigeria is still like lacking behind, as much as I know and I'm playing this domain, we're still lacking a lot of tech talent at the moment, but it's much more competitive than it used to be. Now it's about how you as an individual carve a space for yourself in bringing yourself to be more visible to people who need your talent or who need your skill at this point. And that is why I'm timing this first session as how you rightly position yourself for the world of work. Now, I've established the fact that a lot of us on this platform right now do not have professional work experience. What are those things that you need to do to rightly position yourself, even with the established facts? Okay, to begin with, I'm going to highlight some major tips for you to know in terms of rightly positioning yourself. The first of this is research. The research. Now, some people were like, what does research have to do with me trying to get a job or trying to position myself right for the world of work? So it's very funny that if you do not understand the domain that you want to play in, you are like just nowhere. I mean, you have the required skills or you are learning that skill, but you don't even understand the industry that you are playing in, you are nowhere. So first of all you need to do as an individual trying to break into the tech ecosystem, trying to become like a sought after talent or sort of like build a domain for yourself is to understand the terrain that you are playing in. And you cannot achieve this without a good research. First, you need to understand and the research is like it goes in hand with you understanding yourself as an individual. Take for instance, you are a product manager in training, you are a data analyst in training, you are a React engineer in training, or whatever you are learning at this point. How much of the industry do you know? Like, do you want to work in a fintech industry? Do you want to work in an health tech industry? Or do you even have an understanding of the different sectors that are in the tech recruitment space? So, well, it may be a little too huge for you to want to begin to get a grasp of, okay, this is definitely where I want to work in, or this is definitely what I want to do. But at least have an understanding of what suits you better as an individual. Take for instance, you're somebody who has like a medical background, you've been a nurse before now, you've been a doctor before now. It gives you edge to sort of want to venture into the health tech system, right? So giving yourself like a good edge in terms of those experiences you've had before now, and it's like helps with the research that you're doing as well. So you have prior experience in the medical field. Trust me, you may want to carve a net for yourself within the health tech system. Now you have experience working in the education sector maybe before now, or you have like interest in the education system, you may want to carve a net for yourself in the health tech system. Now you have like experience in the financial sector, you may want to carve a net for yourself in the financial sector. So this is what I mean by understanding the domain that you want to play. I hope I'm communicating. If I'm communicating, can I see some emojis again? And it just gives me validation that you are listening to me. Okay, so, okay, thank you
Jason.
yeah, okay, thank you for that. All right. So in researching as well, so after understanding the industry that you most likely want to play in, you need to understand the skill sets that are required for those industries, like the sought after skill sets for those industries, right? And aside from the skill sets, now you need to understand the companies that are playing big in that area. Take, for instance, if you want to move into the financial sectors, do you even know what companies are in those domain? Like, I'm looking for a job does not make you like to be someone who is redundant in terms of like understanding what is currently happening in the sector you want to get into. So you need to sort of like have a grasp of the companies that are playing big in that domain. For the financial sectors, for the fintech industries, which companies is playing big. You may want to check those that are playing big, and do not also limit yourself to just those that are playing big. You want to also understand tech startups that are promising, and particularly for people that do not have professional work experience, I would want to advise that you start off your research with most likely tech startups, because they are most often having the grace to embrace people with less professional work experience that big tech companies that are making rounds. Do you get? So you want to research on those tech startups that are playing in that domain. So this is where research all counts for you as an individual. I hope we're communicating. Now, after getting grasp of the companies that are playing in that domain, do you also need to know people who are playing in that domain? Yes. Obviously, it is yes. Now, after understanding the companies, you need to now deep dive into people who are playing big in that space. You need to know, okay, the CEO, you need to begin to follow them on social media, on their social media platform. Now, LinkedIn provides good opportunity for you to connect with these people. So you connect with HR, you connect with other persons who are in those domain, or like the staffs in that company, and then you begin to see what they're doing. Even from their LinkedIn profile, you can also understand the skill sets that they have, those things that you should be trying to pick up. I mean, that's the research part of the area. That's the area I'm looking at in terms of research. So when you're doing your research, you're researching in the sector, you're researching for the people playing in that sector, you're also researching for the companies playing in that sector. So don't just start out by saying you want to position yourself for a work in the tech ecosystem without understanding or having a grasp of where you want to see yourself. Now, research is divided into two, right? You have done the part of understanding the industry you want to go into. It's also about understanding the skill sets that is needed for that industry you want to go into. Now, if you recall that I said that you are going to be following people that are playing big in that domain, you are also going to be looking at the skill set that these people have acquired. So you are learning from afar. So most often people ask me about the importance of mentorship. As much as I am like, I am like someone who really appreciates people mentoring others, I also emphasize that you can be mentored from afar. You don't necessarily need to know this person with like good intimacy before you can learn from that person. I can have a mentor who does not know me, right? I can have a mentor who does not even know that I exist, but I'm learning from him or her. And social media platforms these days allows you to learn directly from people who you do not even know. Are we communicating, or am I communicating? Sort of. Okay, so learn about everything you need to know. Thank you, Terry. Learn about everything you will need to know in terms of the industry, the skill sets, and the people playing in that domain. Now, from the research, what is next for you to do? You've gotten a good grasp of where you want to move into. What do you need to do moving forward? So my point 2 is network connection. Now, the world is so interconnected that people easily build networks these days. So not until of recent, I mean, people are now taking LinkedIn as serious as they ought to have taken it in time past. So here I want to leverage on the importance of creating network to position yourself for the future of where you want to work in as a tech intern, or whatsoever you like the name is correct. So you need to like begin to create a connection for yourself. Begin to connect to people who are playing in that domain. You are a budding product designer. You are a budding product manager. You are a UX designer. You are like a React Native developer who is in training. Begin to like connect with people who are actively in that domain at that point. And this is also where mentorship comes in, either mentorship from afar or mentorship near. Are we communicating? So the second part that you need to do is to create network connection. And network connection also gives you the process of getting into the community building platform. Now, this is where it's the network that you created that are going to position you for the community that you need to see yourself in to prosper. So this day, like we can't even overemphasize the importance of social media networks, social media platform in helping to bring network of people together and build communities. Somebody who is very heavy in time of building communities and leveraging on communities for whatsoever that I'm doing. All right, so it's the people that you have connected with that will most likely help you to understand or even know the existing communities for the role that you're aspiring to go into, right? So if I'm connected with someone who is in, take for instance, someone who is in the Talent QO network, maybe community network, it is easy for that person to sort of like introduce me to how they got into the Talent QO candidates pipeline network. So you can't break down like the importance of your connection to community building, right? It's just like you have like a niche of friends, like it's this friend that you have that is connecting you to another friend. So it's this connection that you have established after you have done your network, after you have done your research rather, you went into the network connection and now you're going into the community building. So please and please, although this process that I've highlighted may not come may not come directly as I have itemized them, but as much as possible, they are necessary in positioning yourself for the position or the new terrain that you want to see yourself. Now, from the point that you have started community building, exactly, be intentional about the people. Yeah, thank you so much for that, Terry. Be intentional about the people that you connect with, absolutely. So the people that you connect with will necessarily help you to get the right community you need to get yourself into. Now, once you are in that community, what next for you? What is next for you? If I put it that way, what is next for you? Now, community building is just not a one-time process. Trust me, people that have been in the tech ecosystem for the past 10 years are also still building on their community. They're still leveraging on their community. Even CEOs and CTOs, they are still building a community. So a community is not just a one-time process. So it's something that comes like with time. So you don't stop building or connecting. You continuously engage in that process, right? So it's as much as you're progressing in wherever that you are right now, as much as they're progressing, so also your community needs to be progressing. Take for instance, you were particularly in a community of interns before. After 1 year of professional work experience or 2 years of professional experience, you should now be in the community that has people who have much experience than being an intern before. So your community level sort of progresses from where you are before now and then where you want to project yourself in future to come. So when you're in that community, continue to build on the community. Join as many communities as possible. Go to events. Now, this is it. So a lot of people, because I mean, the tech world is somewhat, a lot of people work remotely these days. The most you would see is that they're working hybrid, or like the worst case scenario is like you still have your 9-to-5 office job. But trust me, we now understand the beauty of events, like going to events, like tech-related events. There are a lot of them, both happening online and both happening physically. Try as much as possible to go to these events. I cannot emphasize more of how many connections and community that I've gained entrance into just by going into events and places, right? So try as much as possible to visit and go to this networking programs for you to sort of gain entrance into the network. So after you've created a niche for yourself in the community, like the tech community, what do you need to do as an individual? You need to, first of all, begin to leverage on the community for your job search, right? So quite a number of people I don't know from anywhere connected with me on LinkedIn, and the conversation has gone from, hi, I love what you're doing, to me now giving them, oh, there's an open role. Are you interested in applying for this role? So of recent, there's this lady who connected with me online on LinkedIn. All that she did was introduce herself, and then she shared like her area of like interest, what she's currently doing and what she's looking at. Yeah, like normal connection, you know, I just had like the familiar sort of like, okay, and then we exchanged pleasantries, and that was it. But trust me, when an open role showed up, right from that point, my thoughts just went into this lady. Oh, I think I have somebody who had this skill set. And the first thing I did, even before going into my pool of existing talents, I reached out to this lady and said, oh, are you still open to this opportunity? Because I knew she had the required skill set. And then there she was. I just, all that I needed to do was just to schedule a call with her. And then we had a conversation, and that was it. And then I walked her through the process. And then she's in the pipeline of being profiled for that role. So she connected with me knowing that I'm a technical recruiter, and then she could see an opportunity to get a job. But when she connected, she did not only stop connecting by just sending a request to be like a connection on LinkedIn. She proceeded forward to sort of like engage with me, to sort of like tell me what she does, to sort of like tell me like the skill set that she has and what she's looking to venture into in the near months and etc. So I had a projection of where she wants to be, and then immediately I saw an open role, an open opportunity. She was quick to come to my head to say, oh, I have this person in mind. And that's just an example of how much of community building and network creation can help you at this time. Now, I'm not going to deny the fact that, particularly for people who do not have professional work experience, it may be another level of trying to position yourself better, because these days, even myself having conversation with companies who need tech talents is always like difficult to hold, like, interns are there to also provide value addition to your company, because everybody wants to build at a fast pace, and they are not looking like, oh, I don't want to babysit other people to sort of like get my work job, particularly for tech startup. But trust me, despite this, there is still like a huge gap for interns in the work today. So what I mean by saying this is that, as much as a lot of companies are like, because it was even a controversial issue sometime on Twitter, on the tech Twitter, why a lot of companies are not like looking to hire people with no work experience, right? It was a controversial issue where everybody was bringing out their opinions and etc. So this is what I want to say. For you as an intern, what you need to do is to project yourself as a value addition to a company, a value addition to whatsoever that you are doing or you are learning. So you are not just projecting yourself as somebody who is going to come learn, right? As much as the major goal is because you don't have a professional work experience, like building practical projects with the skill set that you have, it is to learn on the job, right? There is no lie about that. It is to learn. But you must definitely project yourself as somebody who is going to add value to that company. I'm not going to bring in an intern who I think I would use like 50% of my productive work to sort of babysit to get things right. But an intern who has already shown to me that he or she is proactive, that she is ready to take on new tasks, she's a fast learner, she's as much as possible. I know the fast learning points could not be like, it's not generalized for everybody because we have our own different pace of learning, and that is true. But you are so much open to embrace new things. Like you are so much open to like embrace changes. You show that determination to want to like learn. You show that determination to want to show up when you need to. So that gives me an insight as a potential employer to say that, okay, this intern is like needed for me at this point. And aside from the point that a lot of companies are like shying away from hiring like people with less experience, one point that you should note is that for corporate social responsibility of some companies these days is to embrace people who do not have like any practical knowledge. So as much as there's a trending issue that, oh, it's difficult to break into this space, you should know that corporate social responsibility of some companies necessarily allows that they bring in new people to train them, like, and then to also like give them the opportunity to learn. So that established, don't go thinking that, oh, it is going to be difficult for me to break into. It's a no. It's not difficult. I just want you to understand that it's competitive. So my take points is that it's competitive, but it is like very, very possible. Like obviously everybody started from somewhere. It's not like everybody that is now a professional today were professional beginning with their careers. They created a niche for themselves. Now, in the process of being in that community, I hope you are following the trajectory of where like I started from the points that you conduct your research to the point that you the research is divided into two. Don't forget the research on the industry and the research on the skill sets. Right. And then you now created a connection for yourself. And then you have started building a community for yourself. And from that community, you are learning. Now, in the process of learning, I want you to know that you should embrace voluntary work. This is very, very important. Embrace voluntary work. So sometimes breaking into a new field will entail that, oh, you don't even get paid for what you're doing. Now, I'm not a champion of people not paying in terms of not paying people who do not know. Even the United Nations has like a mandate that says that as volunteers, you need to pay them stipends and etc. That is true. So now I'm talking about project basis, like collaborating with other people who are already established in that field. Now, volunteering to take part in projects is very, very important. Now, it could be like, take for instance, you are a front-end engineer in training and somebody who is willing to build a website, maybe an e-commerce website or something, contracted the job to one of your friend or somebody colleague, and you know about it, you got to know about it. Trust me, you shouldn't be too much of what is going to be my gain from this. It should be like, what do I get to learn from collaborating with this person, building this e-commerce website together, right? So that's what I'm saying. So you should be ready to volunteer your skill sets at some point before, because it is in the point of you volunteering your skill sets that people get to establish your work ethic. People get to know that, oh, you are good at what you're doing. Are we together? Am I communicating? So it's at this point that people get to have a feeling that, okay, this person has what it takes to actually be on a real job. or to be on like a permanent job. So it is from your voluntary experiences that people get to know you better and they can refer you. Even as at this time, trust me, I still do some activities that are purely on voluntary basis. Not because I have the ample of time, because I'm still also in the process of learning. And if you want people to value what you're doing, first, they need to see what you can bring to the table. And how best you can do is to volunteer. So do not let monetary values to be at the point of, to be like the so-sayer to what you need to do. Embrace taking up projects. And the project that you are building would help you to have something worthwhile in your portfolio. Now, if I ask you as a software engineer in training, like introduce yourself, I mean, you need to be able to show me some things you've worked on, right? That gives, even as an intern, I don't want to, as an intern or somebody wants to just break into a new light or a new terrain, I don't want to assume that you've not done anything. I mean, what's the validation that if I bring you to my team, you'll be able to do something? So I'm trusting that even in the process of you taking up your courses with the Tech for Dev team, that you are given some sort of project to embark on. So those projects can be part of what you have in your portfolio and showcases that, okay, this is what I've also contributed to. So as you are going to be positioning yourself, you are not positioning yourself with nothing to show. You are positioning yourself with something to show for it, but you are willing to improve on it, right? So take up as much as possible voluntary activities that can help you build your portfolio, and this would definitely help to position you right for any potential open position. Now, at the point that you have built your portfolio, what should you be doing next? Then it is about actively seeking for job opportunities. Now, actively seeking for job opportunities is you going online to search companies that are open to employing people at this time. People that are open to employing entry levels, that are open to employing people with your skill sets. Now, one of the mistakes that I think a lot of people do is because of they are in a very critical stage of I want to get a job or I want to get a tech job, they ignore the fact that the job that they are applying for must necessarily tally with the skill sets that they have. So I don't want to, because I find it so amusing if you are applying for a job and then you don't have like half of the required skill sets. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't like project you well to the potential employer. So make sure that at least for every job opening that you want to be applying for, you have over 70% of the required skill sets. And those 30% is like an avenue for you can sort of like learn on the job. Like you have the possibility of picking up those required skill sets. You are actively job searching. Do you have like an idea of like the sites or platforms that jobs are posted? That's number one. Number two, do you have an idea of the communities that sort of projects people for job? Like take for instance, where I currently work, what we do is like we have a community of people, like we sort of like put on profile for job. Do you know about other communities that you can actively project yourself, and then once you maybe fulfill the criteria, they can profile you for those open jobs? So those are like major criteria that you must check in positioning yourself for new open opportunities in the tech ecosystem. I hope we're communicating. If we're communicating, please let me see emoji running. I love seeing emojis anyways. It's sort of yeah, I think the new word of like testing has made emoji like the very easiest one for us to sort of like so I love seeing emojis. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, now like I said, your learning must never stop. You need to, as much as possible, embrace continuous learning. So even in the process of you actively seeking for these job opportunities, are you still learning, right? So are you still learning as an individual? So you need to constantly learn, update yourself with the necessary skill requirements as it is needed. Now, from this point, it's going to take me down to the second part of this session, which is now understanding you profiling yourself for the job. Now, if you followed the trajectory that I've rightly established, you will know that I took it down from the basics, which is like you starting out your research, down to connection building, down to community building, down to the learning part, down to you now actively searching for job with search communities that are like profiling people for jobs and etc. So the next part of this session is to actively now discuss on the ways or the major requirements for your CV writing as an individual who is just breaking into the limelight. Or perhaps before I move on, I don't know if anyone asked question regarding the first part of this discussion that has brought us down from the research down to when you are actively putting yourself out for the open job opportunities.
Okay, so Kendi, to answer the question, so after the session, after you're done with the session, and our second guests coming to share on details too as well, we would have questions come after this session. After yours and after our second guest to share on details too. So that would be like a roundup of all the session.
Okay, great. That sounds interesting. So we can have like a whole lot of the conversation in one place in terms of questions. Okay, great. So now I'll just like touch light a bit on the major requirements for you, or what are the key ingredients to have in your CV once you're profiling yourself for a new role, breaking into a new terrain that you have not like been in before. So I'm going to start with very funny case scenarios, but they are very, very disturbing. Me as a technical recruiter, I see this on a daily basis, and I keep wondering if people have not encountered anyone to like give them this insights to all of these very minute mistakes, but they keep repeating them. So overall, I don't know how you would send a CV in a doc format to a reviewer. It amuses me and cracks me up every time I see people send in their CV, or they like attach their CV in Word formats. Don't you know that in the course of like sending this, there could be like miss-up arrangements? Why don't you send in PDF format? So I don't want us to keep making mistakes. So as much as possible, whenever I have the time to sort of like talk about the major ingredients for CV, I like emphasizing that these are very simple things, but people still they make that mistake. Don't send your CV in Word format. Send in a PDF. Otherwise, it is stated by the recruiter or whoever that is requesting for that CV. So please ensure that your CVs are sent in PDF format to a reviewer or like a recruitment agency or whatsoever that needs to review your CV. So that said, I also want to emphasize, I know we might have heard this before, CVs are not like all fits for all jobs. So you need to, as much as possible, tailor your CV to the particular job that you are looking to apply for. I'm going to give you case scenarios in my life as a technical recruiter. How do I shortlist candidates? Aside from using tools that are like we have in-house to sort of like help with shortlisting candidates. When I'm shortlisting candidates manually, what do I look out for in CVs? First thing first, I look at your skill sets. That's the first thing. I want to see if what I'm looking out for is okay. Thank you, Ayotomide.
Oh, sorry, Kendi, you're muted.
Okay, thank you. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I was just trying to talk about, I don't know where I stopped, like what you heard last from me, but I'm just going to pick up from the last part is on the major ingredients that you must have on your CV. So as a technical recruiter, I was giving an example of how I review candidates manually if I'm not using the tools that we use in-house to sort of like shortlist candidates. The first thing I look out for is your skill set. I want to see if the skill set that you have tallies with the open job that I'm profiling you for. So in applying for a job, now that we've established that you need to like search for the jobs posting sites, you also need to get acquainted to communities that sort of profile you for open jobs. Now, at the point that you are sending out your CVs or that you're applying for those jobs, you need to understand the required skill sets. Now, the skill sets are divided into two, the must-haves and the nice-to-have skill sets. Now, the must-haves are very essential. If you don't have this, then I cannot shortlist you for that open role. So you want to make sense of whatsoever JD that you're reviewing, the job description that you're reviewing, that you understand what the must-haves of that JD is and the nice-to-have of that JD is. Then if you tick the must-haves of that JD, that means you have the high potential of being chosen for that job. If you don't have up to what the must-have skill set is, then you are at a lower advantage of securing that job. I don't know if you're with me, right? So,
with you.
Okay, thank you. Ensure that the skill set that you have on your JD has all of the must-haves required in that. The skill set that you have in your CV rather has like the essentials of the JD that you have reviewed. So you do not necessarily have to have a fit-all size CV for every job application. And don't try to, because of the fact that you want to project your CV as the best candidate, now sort of lie and deceive the employer that you have skill sets that you do not have. At the point of having interview session, that's why you see a lot of candidates drop down at the interview session, because most often they lie about what they have on their CV. And I don't want that to be a case scenario for you listening to me today. Ensure that whatever that you have in your CV should be what you necessarily can defend. It protects your integrity as an individual. It might not be now, it might be for future reference, but it sort of keeps your integrity in check. So be truthful to yourself whenever you're writing your CV. Aside from having ensuring that the skill sets that you have in that CV is the same as what is needed in the JD, you need to also ensure that your summary is well stated, your objective is well stated. So I know that quite a number of us on this call may have written a JD one time or the other, right? So in JD, you know that the essential part of the JD includes you having your personal details. And I think I should emphasize on personal details. When I say personal details, because I see sometimes some information that cracks me up as a technical recruiter. I don't need to see your date of birth, or unless otherwise it is stated. I don't need to see your marital status unless it is otherwise stated. So these are like personal information that I see. I don't necessarily, because sometimes it gives your reviewer some sort of prejudice. Okay, this person is older than me. I don't want to have this person on my team. You don't want to create those unnecessary prejudices for yourself, right? Even before the interviewer like meets with you. So those personal details should not necessarily be on your CV. Well, some people may want to say, okay, maybe it's a different ballgame to them, but I myself as a technical recruiter, I don't see this information necessary because the jobs that I profile candidates for, I don't have like a need to sort of see if you're married or if you are over 80 or you're over 20 or you're over 50. So those details should necessarily not be in your CVs unless otherwise stated by the recruiter, right? I think in personal details as well, having an address, a specific address, may sometimes be limiting. So you don't want to like clearly say that, I mean, as much as you are mobile, right, or you are open to relocation or open to anything, you don't want to restrict yourself to a particular location, except you don't have like an option and then you necessarily want whatever job that you're looking out for to be within your vicinity, then you can have your address on it. But if that's not the case, then why have your address on it? You could just have your city and your country, right? It just gives the interviewer an idea if they are shortlisting you, because most likely some job would demand that this person is based in Nigeria or this person is based outside Nigeria. So that information could be helpful in terms of shortlisting, but you don't want to shoot yourself in the leg by putting the whole of your address on it. Right. Another major part of the CV that I think we should also talk about is having your CV accompanied by a cover letter. Now, for tech job, this is not necessarily the case. I mean, I as much as I know, working in this space is not usually the space, because for a lot of tech jobs, what you will most likely see is people with CV and their portfolio attached, right? Or people CV and then they are requested to just attach it, and then they have like a drop down of questions that they need to answer and etc. So it's not necessarily most for a lot of like tech open roles that I know, like you don't necessarily have to. But if that's not the case, if it is not that you need to sign up somewhere and fill some questions or some stuff, then if it is just like a one-to-one communication process, probably you are required to send your CV by email. Necessarily, you should accompany a cover letter, and your cover letter should be in the body of that email. So you don't want to have a cover letter that is attached as another file in that email. So a cover letter should be in the body of it, should be the content of that email, just summarizing and introducing yourself to the employer, and then your attached CV in that email. I hope we're communicating. Now, always use standardized formats for your CVs. So when I say standardized formats, you know that the requirements that you have to have in your CV include like, after your personal details, you have your objective or summary of your summary. Like it's always like about not more than 3 sentences. So you don't want to like talk a lot about yourself, just like an introduction of who you are, your career projection, possibly because you are transitioning from a non-tech role, you may want to clearly state that, how excited you are, the opportunities that you see for yourself in the new tech, in the new sector or the new industry that you are going into. And then if you're somebody who has like a background experience, most likely, let's take, for instance, you were previously a banker, and then you are projecting yourself in a fintech industry. You want to highlight in that summary, career summary, that you are currently transitioning from the traditional financial system to the tech ecosystem. And then like you want to tell them that you have some experience that could be helpful in that process, like in the new role, right? And it's just a brief summary of who you are, right? And then your career objective in the next 5 years or so. So that's like one of the standardized formats. And then you have like, the next part of it should be your work experience. And this is, I think I should emphasize here, because of the caliber of people that we have on the call. I mean, when I say caliber of people, we're in this together. I started off somewhere, not having like a professional experience in the tech ecosystem as well. I was majorly in the social science field, right? The nonprofit sector, and then I transitioned into the tech ecosystem. So it's like the same kind of shoe that you are in that I was in some years back. So what you would want to do is like also highlight some of this professional experience. Now, some people ask this question: do I have to have all of my work experience right on my CV? So the thing is, okay, so we have a question. I think I'm going to go back to that question later, but allow me to quickly finish up what I'm trying to say. So you do not necessarily have to have all of your work experience on your CV. So especially those that are not relevant to the job that you are profiling for. And you don't want to have your CV more than 2 pages, because sometimes it's exhausting. Okay, only if you have like major or very important work experiences or things that you want to highlight and could profile you better, could be advantageous to getting you that job, then you are allowed to have them. But for people that are just starting off into the tech ecosystem, at this point, I think you should make do with just 1 page or at most 2 pages of your CV, like not more than 2 pages of your CV. So in terms of your work experience, as much as you have worked somewhere and it is relevant, so when I say relevant, it shows that you are somebody who is enthusiastic. You are somebody that is open to new changes, open to new environments, has good work ethics. I mean, those are like validations, right? Because I don't want to, as much as possible, it cracks me up if I'm trying to hire an intern and the intern has blank work experience. It does not give me like a good feeling that this person is ready to work. So when I say have like work experience, it could even be, your work experience does not need to be like paid job work experience. It could be like voluntary work experience. It could be even you as a student. It could be what you did in school. I mean, in terms of like, a lot of persons join communities these days, join UN organizations that are in schools and stuff like that. What did you do as a committee member? I mean, those could add up as your work experience. Now I'm talking to people who do not have any sort of professional work experience. So you may want to have a reflection of things that you've done in your capacities as a student, either outside school, is that as a volunteer for other organizations. You want to add it to like tell your interviewer that you are up for the world of work. Now, for people who already have established work experience a lot and you're transitioning into the tech ecosystem, you don't want to have things that are not relevant enough. Maybe you were, I'm trying to look for an example of something that is not really relevant to the job role. Particularly, maybe you were a waitress somewhere. I mean, it does not really like give a lot of advantage to you having that experience in your CV, projecting yourself for a tech job role, right? So you don't necessarily have to have that. But take, for instance, you have worked as a customer care representative for maybe a financial sector, maybe the bank, and then you are applying for a job in the fintech. You may want to have that on your CV, yes, because it's sort of like give validation to the fact that you have like an existing experience in working around like in a financial setup. So it gives like validation to, okay, yes, you do. So trust me, you can have that in your CV. I hope we're communicating.
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you, Ayatomide. I just love asking that question to give validation that I'm not speaking alone or like people are listening to me. So that's about your work experience. And in your work experience, I want you to highlight some activities, not activities, but achievements that you've done in that role. So some people just give me like an heading of where they've worked at and the company they worked at, the dates, which is okay. I mean, it gives me like a validation that, oh, you have so years of experience. That's okay. But I also want to see that you've been able to achieve some things in your course of work for that company. And this should not be activities. So there's a difference between activities and achievements. That I'm picking a phone call on a daily basis is an activity, right, as a customer representative. But that I'm able to convert those calls to potential clients is an achievement. So I want you to be able to distinguish between activities and achievements. So you want to highlight the achievements and not your activities working in a company, right? So it's those achievements that gives me validation as a recruiter that this person would do good if I hire this person, and they can contribute value to my company once I hire them, or once I hire them for my clients. I hope we're communicating. So there's a difference between activity and there's a difference between achievements, and it's only achievement I want to see in your CV. For tech roles, I cannot overemphasize on the importance of link to your projects, like things you've worked on. Take for instance, maybe you are a UI UX designer. There are like projects that you built, like things that you have to show people that, okay, this is what I can do. And this is like an example of work that I can do. It could be like, it could be even linked to the website that you've designed. It could be linked to the web application that you've designed. I mean, it gives validation to me as an employer, or to me as a recruiter, that this person can actually do what they can do. Just for you to know, your CV is like your mouthpiece in time of like talking about what you can do and what you cannot do. So the first idea that I have of you as a technical recruiter is your CV. So if you don't project your CV to me well, then you have zero opportunity to even meet with me and to discuss about the job roles, the expectation, and etc. So you want to project your CV the way you want your recruiter to see you. So try to project your CV the way you want your recruiter to see you. And I think I want to mention our references as part of the CV. Trust me, you don't need to have like names of people placed on your CV without they knowing, right? Because case scenarios of people that you just pick your lecturer, you just pick people that you work with, and you didn't even inform them that you are using them as referees. And then when employers or potential employers call them, they're like, oh, which Mary are you speaking of? I know this Mary. Is this Mary from Abuja? Is this Mary from Nigeria? Is this Mary from Ghana? Is this Mary from... Because you don't want your employer to feel like, oh, perhaps this person does not even know what they're doing. So you want to ensure that if you're having the names of your referees or their contact information, ensure that you've prepped them up to let them know that, oh, they could be called at any point in time because you're using them as referees for your CV. Now, I also want to mention the fact that particularly for job roles, well, in my case, you don't necessarily have to have the contact details of the CVs, right? You don't want to have the contact of the CV right in your CV. So what I'm saying in essence is, it's only at some point that we really need this that we will ask for your reference, right? So you can always have available on request because you want to be sure that when they are available, when they need to speak with your referees, you have given them like a prep to say, oh, you could get a call to ask about me or something. But if you're just giving people access to other people's contact, I mean, it's not even ethical because you don't know how many applications you'll be putting out for, and then you're replicating people's private details outside the world. And this is a world where we have, you have cyber attacks, you have a lot of things that are ongoing. People can easily use other people's information for malicious activities, and you don't want people that are dear to you to be victims of all of these issues. So I am, as much as possible, I am an advocate that to keep your referrals contact details as as much as you can until the recruiter asks for you to sort of present these details. Now, I've had case scenarios where at some point that because it's when you progress to some stage that people would necessarily need you to provide your reference. At first instance, if I review your CV and then I want to meet with you, I don't need to, like, I don't know, for me as a technical recruiter anyways, I don't need to meet with your referee, with your your references at this point. It is probably at the second stage of the interview that I want to know you more. Probably I've tested your technical skills and I know that you are looking like a potential candidate and I want to just have a feeling of who you are outside of what I know. Then I need to sort of initiate contact with your references. So this is at this point that I would ask you to provide your references. But trust me, this is not like a fit size approach. Some technical recruiters could actually ask you at the point that you are applying for positions to submit your references. So do much as possible to ensure that you have these people at any time, whichever case scenario. But if you're using the very most applicable method of applying for open roles, keep your references, contact details as private as possible. I think I've been able to cover that. So another thing I want to emphasize is in the point of you establishing your education, I also want you to put out your certifications and training. Now, the Tech for Dev they're going to be issuing you certificates. Ensure that you have this well established in your CV. It gives validation to the fact that, oh, you've been able to undergo this training and you've been certified, right? If you won any award in the course of like the training as well, why not? I like them. It gives me validation that this person that I'm speaking with is a notable person. I mean, somebody who is like, up to game and then could like do excellently well if they have track record of like awards and etc. So ensure that you itemize all of this in your CV as well. Yes, I think I've been able to cover the basics of what should be in your CV. I definitely have confidence in the fact that my next speaker would do justice to more of those things that I've been unable to cover. But basically, these are the essential ingredients that needs to be in your CV. Don't forget, your CV is like your mouthpiece, where you are or where you are not. It could be like at the point of you interviewing that, although that's like the archaic method, you don't need to, I need to see your CV before even meeting with you to start with. But whatever module that we're taking in terms of recruitment process, know that your CV is like what speaks for you. So you want to ensure that you position yourself first, better, before you even have the opportunity to speak with the technical recruiter. Yeah, I think at the point of positioning yourself again in the CV is also like working on your communication skills, which is like where I'm going to be ending this conversation or this session. So you want to do well to understand how to better communicate with technical recruiters. When they're asking you questions, you want to get acquainted to the questions and then, yes, just sell yourself and then be the best that you can be as the right candidate for the role.
All right. Thank you very much, Kendi, for that details. That was so a lot, right? So we're going to be having our next speaker, come on board to share with us details she has with us already. All right. So Jennifer, if you're on this call, you can unmute your mic and turn on your video for us to see. I'm sorry, we can't hear you. Your mic is muted.
Oh, apologies. I said still good morning. Sorry. My time zone is like 1 hour behind, so apologize. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer Oyelade. I am a Director of Talent Acquisitions for an organization called Transpacific Consulting. So thank you, Kende, for your presentation. And if I could share my screen so I can, kind of emphasize a bit more on some of the things you have mentioned and kind of, expatiate as well on some of those areas. So let me just share this. So I won't take too much of your time. So I will just kind of highlight on the key the key areas that I feel that you would need to focus on, especially when you're trying to position yourself in the tech space, how to not only write your CV, but how to project it in a way that you are, as I said, selling yourself, but using more descriptive words to highlight what you can do, and at the same time, transferable skills that you can move in if you are coming from a non-technical space into the technical space. So I'll leave this kind of brief intro about who I am, and I will share this presentation as well to you guys so you can have a more of an in-depth read, since I'm going to go over only a few key points. Okay, so the thing about your CV, what I would say is similar to what Kehinde said, but what I'll say is, in a way for you to remember it correctly, is your CV is a document that can speak for you in a room where you're not present. So in hindsight, before I get to see you, your CV needs to speak to me. Your CV needs to be able to communicate to me in a way that I have got that interest in meeting you. And apart from that interest, I need to understand, what are you trying to communicate to me? It's a document that gets me to know you personally without seeing you. So I should be able to look at your CV and say, okay, this is their kind of personality. These are the kind of things they're interested in. These are the kind of skill sets they've developed. Can this person fit into my organization? If I am an internal recruiter, and if I'm an external recruiter, can I represent this person well enough to sell them to my client to get them the job? So how to write a great CV. So I've got a methodology, what I call the WHEAT methodology. So if your CV is written using the WHEAT methodology, I believe your CV can be a very detailed 2-page CV if you're an entry level. And to be honest, I'm quite big on lengthy CVs, and I'll give you an reason why. So I'll give you a classic example. If you are the CEO of Tesla, a $1 trillion organization, and the first hire that I want to make is either a finance manager or a CFO or anything like that, right? And you walk into my office with a 2-page CV, and you're supposed to manage my money or manage my department, would you give that person the job? The truth is no. And regardless of whether you are a senior executive or an entry-level candidate, recruitment is a very, very, very expensive exercise. The companies spend millions of naira, dollars, pounds to find the right staff, whether you're an entry-level candidate or a senior executive, because the money that goes into training that individual, the money that goes into nurturing that individual is not only time wasting, but it's financially, is a financial hindrance. So what they want to do is ensure that I am hiring the right person. So your CV needs to speak more for you, so that I know that if I'm going to sit down with you and having a good conversation with you, your CV should have done 70% of that job already. So how do you get your CV to look like somebody that I want to meet? By using the WHEAT methodology. So what do you do? So what are your responsibilities? What is it that you do? And how do you do it? So what systems do you use? What programs do you use? What other tools do you use to do your job? What your responsibilities are? What are the tools that you use? And then the eventualities. By doing those responsibilities, using those tools, what are the end results? Then, if you put the WH and E together, the achievement. So by doing those responsibilities, using those tools, and the eventualities of what you have done, what have you achieved? And then T is time frame. So exactly how long does it take for you to do it, or how often do you do it? So now with the WHEAT methodology, WHEAT, I'll give you an example of what it will look like. So as it says, I capture data and input it into an MIS system to ensure accuracy of the information collected, and also, you guys can read that. Now, I'm not saying that your bullet point needs to be this long. You can actually edit that bullet point, but if you want to break down that bullet point, what I've said is, I've told you what I've done. I capture data. I've told you why I do it, to input it into a system. I've told you what the eventualities are It reduces time, speed, and so on and so forth. And the achievements, it means that by doing that, you've become more methodical and diligent. And then the time frame may be something you do every week, every day, or however. So now with that, you can actually shorten that bullet point. But what I'm trying to actually explain is that you need to expatiate on actually what you do and why you do it. There's no point in just saying, I import data, bookkeeping, this, that, you don't need short bullet points. Doesn't tell me what you do and how you do it. So what differentiates you from the thousands of other applicants that are applying for the same role? Okay, the 2-page CV. Is it a myth or a fact? I kind of broke that down already. And here's a true life fact. On average, an employer takes 5 to 7 seconds to go through a CV. I think it's even less. I would say even 3 to 5. But I'm just being, kind by saying 5 to 7. It takes 5 to 7 seconds for me to decide whether I'm going to continue to read your CV or not. So if I see a profile, for example, at the very beginning that says, oh, I'm an enthusiastic, diligent, hardworking, da 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 da. To me, I'm already sleeping, because the truth of the matter is, on a Monday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm not enthusiastic. I don't know about you, but I'm not, right? So I have to write things that are relevant to me and my attributes, and not what I want an employer to hear. So focus on what your actual skill is, rather than using buzzwords that you think an employer wants to hear. Saying I am a hard worker, I'm hardworking. Really and truly, in this day and age, what we are aiming to do is not to work hard, but to work smart. So what we need to do is start talking about things that reflect us as an individual, rather than words we think that an employee wants to hear. Now, the reason why I say a 2-page CV is a myth is because whether you're a university, whether you have done volunteer experience, whether you've done internships, if you use the WEEP methodology to highlight your bullet points, you can have a detailed CV that can be comparable to somebody who has 1 to 2 years experience, or even 3, because it's not necessarily about how much of the page you fill, but the quality of the data on that page. So if you were a treasurer in your organization, you've looked after money, maybe you've used Sage to manage, your internal departmental funds, maybe you're an IT person for a department and you use various softwares. These are still experience that can be put on your CV into wherever you find yourself. So it's not necessarily about, is this, whether it's paid experience or internship, experience is still experience at the end of the day. There's no job description that says we're looking for somebody with 6 months paid experience. No, we're looking for somebody with 6 months experience, 1 year experience, no experience at all, but you've got that transferable skills that can be relevant in the workplace. And the only way you're going to highlight on those transferable skills is using every single opportunity you've had and project it effectively and expansively, so that it can be seen that you do have these expertise. There's nobody on this call, there's nobody that can tell me that they have no experience. For the mere fact that you either looked after some money, whether you've organized an event, whether you've, you've done some spreadsheets one way or another, it's all experience. It all depends on how you articulate that experience on your CV. As I said, using the WEEP methodology, you'll be able to expatiate it, that a recruiter or an employer can look at this person and say, you know what, they're not really entry level. Yes, technically they are, because in an actual workplace, they haven't had that experience, but they have enough experience to transition into a workplace. Okay, I'm just trying to not to completely double what Kade said. So I'm just trying to, okay. Yeah, so even when you're writing your CV, you need to also think about various different layouts of CVs and how they're supposed to go. I have a very different ideology of how a CV should go in terms of the layout. So as I said, I think that the profile and the summary at the top should be a little bit expansive. Reason being because you need to grab the employer's attention. As I said, it takes 3 to 5 seconds whether I'm going to read the CV or not. So instead of saying hardworking and enthusiastic, you can say things like, I'm just using data, for example. I am an aspiring data analyst who has had experience. If you've had experience, you can say I've experienced doing A, B, C, D, and E. And if you haven't had any experience, you can talk about who has spent time learning and developing myself in X, Y, and Z. So in the profile, if you haven't had that experience already, you can talk about the courses, or you can talk about how you have professionally developed yourself in learning about ABC, because you're an aspiring professional in the area of your choice. So make sure that is known within the profile, because that is what's going to determine whether I'm going to read on or not. Then after that, I would say education goes next. Reason why I say that is because as a recruiter, I don't have time to go through your profile, your work experience, go all the way back to the last page where your education is, only to go all the way back to the front of the CV to see your work experience. Your CV should be a story. Like once upon a time I should be able to say, okay, this is your profile, a summary of who you are and what you aspire to be. The next section is your academics. So what kind of investment have you done in your academics to show me what you have done to invest in your craft? So whether there are courses on Coursera, whether it's your degree, whether it's your master's, whatever kind of education and training you've done, I would put that after your profile. Then comes work experience, because even if you haven't maybe got enough work experience yet, from your academics, I can see you've done courses that are relatable to the area that you want to get into. But if you put it at the back, I'm not sure at that point in time whether or not you've invested in your chosen career path. I have to go all the way to the back of the CV, which in this time and day and age, recruiters do not have time, because time is money. So whatever is not put on the CV, I'm going to assume that you haven't done it because it's not there. Be very intentional about the order of your CV. A CV should be a story. It should be able to tell me enough about you in order for me to want to engage you. Okay, what else? ATS CV. Sorry to say, guys, but an ATS CV does not exist. The reason why I say an ATS friendly CV does not exist is because you do not know what the recruiter is looking for. So for example, if I'm looking for a data analyst, or if I'm looking for a data engineer, I might not search data engineer. I might search softwares. I might search Panda. If I'm looking for a product manager, I might search the software that you guys use, or I might search projects or strategy, or I might search your a particular certification, or I might search. You don't know what I'm looking for. So if you just think you're going to write software engineer, software engineer, software engineer, software engineer, and think that you're going to come up at the top of the list, you may do so, but you might not have the content that I'm looking for. So if I'm looking for a software engineer, I might write JavaScript. I might write, I might write anything else that is not directly linked to the job title, because I am not looking for a job title. I'm looking for a skill set. What may work in company A may not necessarily work in company B. A software engineering manager in one company may be a software engineer something else in another company. Not all companies are structured the same, and not all job titles are structured the same. So focus more on the skills you have to offer rather than putting in buzzwords thinking, oh, I'm going to get to the top of the pile, because you don't know what the other person is thinking. So focus more on the skills, the softwares you use, the programs you use, and things like that are the things that are going to bring you to the top of the list, because then you're opening up the spectrum for what a possible recruiter could be looking for. Okay, psychology in the CV, right. Now, writing a CV is actually a psychological exercise, believe it or not. The kind of words you use, the order of the bullet points that you, in the order of your bullet points also determines how your CV is read. So for example, if you've managed a project or if you've looked after, you know, some, you know, maybe money, or you've done something in a, you know, a added value capacity, then those are the kind of words you should be using. So words like managing, leading, supervising, developing, created, implemented. Words like this show that you are a doer, you are an implementer, you are you are somebody who comes in, adds value, hits the ground running. So be careful with the kind of words you use. So like analyze, prepared, provided, reduced, increased, upscaled, expanded. Use more adjectives when you're writing your CV, because adjectives show that you are a proactive member of staff should you join the team, and it shows as a professional you are proactive in your professional development. Yes, so also the more your CV is well written will determine the quality of interview you have. So for example, the more detailed your CV is, as a recruiter, I'm going to look at your CV and say, okay, you know what? 70% of what they've written here is what we're looking for. So the other 30% is determined, it's broken down into two things. 20%, do they have the right skill set and attributes in terms of their personality to fit into my environment? And 10%, no, 20% is more communication skills, sorry, and 10% is their ability to integrate into our work ethic and work culture. So if you have a well-written CV, you will find that the pace of the interview is different. It's not, oh, Jennifer, have you done this? Oh, Jennifer, have you done that? Oh, Jennifer, tell me about this. If your CV is written using the WEEP methodology, the interview will be more spent on asking you what your professional goals are, what projects excited you most. Oh, I saw that you worked on this. Oh, I saw that you have this skill set. Oh, talk to me more about that. So the conversation in the interview will be more of a getting to know session rather than a grilling session of going through your CV and answering questions that wouldn't need to be asked if those details were on your CV. So a well-written CV determines the quality of your interview. Okay, okay, I'll skip that. Okay, so what are employers looking for in a tech professional? Someone who's a problem solver. We hire people to solve the problems that we have. You know, those are the reasons why recruitment happens. We have an opening, we have a gap, we need a skill set that we need to fill. So we want people to come in with the mentality that I'm here to solve a problem. What is it that they're trying to solve? What attributes do I have, both professionally and personally, being the kind of person and the attributes I have? What skills do I have? What attributes do I have that can solve problems? Employers are always looking for a problem solver. Somebody who's very analytical. Find out, why are we doing what we're doing? Or is there a better way to do what we're doing? Don't be afraid to be logical. Don't be afraid to research. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Any decent employer will commend you on your ability to want to learn and know more than to just accept what's given to you. So try and be as analytical as possible, but at the same time, learn and absorb and use that to continue to be an asset. Okay, I'll skip that. Adaptable communication. So learning how to be able to communicate with people at different levels. So, you know, whether it's your peers, whether it's people who are a senior, you know, always develop on your communication skills and be able to relate that to depending on who you're relating with. So as they say, when in Rome, behave like the Romans. So, you know, like for me, I always say, you know, take me to a fine dining restaurant, I'm good. Take me to a yaoyo to eat amala, begri, and okra, and I'm good as well. So at the end of the day, you have to be able to be flexible in the way you communicate with different people within the organization. So adaptable communication is key. Lead successfully. So as you're developing yourself in your career, you have to be intentional about what an employer expects from you. So which means you have to be mean. So when I mean mean is actually an abbreviation for managing expectations, learning how to empathize with your co-workers, appreciate and applaud your co-workers, because the more you celebrate the work that others have done, the more they will celebrate you. And nurture. Always nurture yourself in terms of your career progression, and nurture others around you. So sorry, I'm trying to unwavering professionalism. So no matter, I know it's very hard, but no matter what, always remain professional at all times. Whatever problems you're going through, whatever the case may be, you need to leave it at the door, because at the end of the day, your employer is employing you because you have the skill set that they need to take their business forward. They're not employing you because your hair looks nice or because you've got great skin. So always be professional, regardless, because your professionalism is what you'll be remembered for. Self-management, always take ownership of your work, always take ownership of your deliverables. And this also goes into, you know, preparing yourself for the workplace. Always take accountability for yourself. It's very important. Again, ease with technology. Well, I'm speaking to tech people, so always develop yourself from a technical space. Find out what new softwares are available. You know, just try to proactively develop yourself so that your skill set can be transferable wherever you go. Okay. Yeah, so different courses that you can do to add to your professional development, I would say, are roles such as business intelligence, business analysis, business strategy, people analytics, information technology, project management. These are additional courses that you can add that is transferable to no matter whatever job you're going into, whatever sector you're going into. Business intelligence is very sought after because it's not just about what you technically know right now. We want to know as employers, what do you know about the industry that you're going into? Because you have to combine your industry knowledge with your technical knowledge. That is what's going to make you stand out in any interview. That's what's going to make you stand out in your CV. Even when you've worked, even if you've worked for a company before or you haven't, maybe underneath that job title, write a little bit about what the company is about. So they know that, oh, she's worked in the healthcare industry. Oh, I'm in the healthcare industry. Yes, that person will have industry knowledge about what it is we do aside from their technical knowledge. So courses in these areas will help boost your ability to differentiate yourself in a market where technical professionals are many, but opportunities are few. Yeah, so I tried to write a very edited version without kind of overlapping on what Kehinde has said, and just, you know, pointing out some key factors, which is your CV will speak for you in rooms where you're not. So I will encourage every one of you to elaborate on your CV. The truth is, if a recruiter is very, very serious about hiring, they will read through that document, because it is more expensive to make a wrong hire the first time than to get it wrong the second time. So the first thing is to always ensure that you're setting yourself the best you can on a piece of paper. Because the one thing that I hear all the time is, oh, Jennifer, it's okay now. When I get into the interview, I will then tell them and explain to them what I have done, this. And I always have to stop them and say, hold on. If your CV is not speaking to me, at what point in time are you going to sit down in front of me to tell me what it is you've done, or what it is you've achieved, or what it is you can do? If your CV is not giving, then at that point in time, you won't be able to sell yourself. So use that document as mouthpiece, use that document as your selling point, use that document to open the doors that you are not capable of opening because your hand is not on the handle. And the same goes for your presence online as well. You know, engage online as a subject matter expert, even if you're not. What you research, you can turn that into a social media post. Oh, I currently read on Forbes that the technology world by 2023 is going into, I don't know what, and you share your opinion on it. People are always looking for people who are adding value, people who are taking that extra step to make themselves be seen, not just because they're posting great pictures, and not just because they're, you know, making different quotes, but you're talking about things that are relevant in our society today. So yeah, I hope I've managed to, you know, squeeze that down in an edited version. I will share these slides. If you found that this information was helpful, I will share the slides with the Tech for Dev team, and you can take time to go over it in a lot more detail. And that's me.
All right. Thank you very much, Jennifer, for that session. So it was really, really great and informative, right? The fellows really learned a lot from this. All right. So not to just to go straight into the point, right? So fellows, if you have questions now, we are already in the the Q&A session where we be welcoming questions now. So if you have any questions for our guests, you can start dropping your questions now, right? So ask your questions now. Any question you have now, so you just start dropping them in now, so our guests can have access provided to every of the questions you want to ask. Okay, Terry, you said you already dropped a question. Can you just re-drop it again? Because I must have, comments must have made me skip some certain questions. All right. So I'll be waiting for our questions. So okay. Okay. So I have a question for, Kendi, are you on this call?
Yes, I Ayotumide.
Okay. I think this question is directed to you. So this person is asking, what is the difference between a cover letter and an application letter?
Okay, thank you, Ayotumide. Thank you, Terry, for that question. I think you also brought this question while I was making my submission earlier on. Okay, so I think your question meant to read the difference between a cover letter and a CV and not an application letter, because I don't know. I don't think I mentioned an application letter. And I don't think in recruitment process we have like the term application letter. It's usually like cover letter or you have your CV. And then there's this usual talk about the difference between resume and CV. And that's not a question, but I just thought to bring it up as well. So the CV and the resume, sometimes they are synonymously used, like they could be interchangeably used as well, but most often one is longer than the other or one is lengthy than the other. So the resume is usually like a short sort of like description or introduction of who you are. I mean, according to all that the second speaker had said, she has given you like a bit insight to what your CV should entail. So the resume is usually shorter compared to the CV. So now let's go back to what the difference between a CV and a cover letter is. Now, a cover letter is like, it's a letter, just like the name inscribed, that introduces you beforehand to the interviewer or the reviewer of your CV. Now, it gives me, it's like, the way you write your formal letter. I mean, we've gone into a lot of like lessons, high school, teaching us about how to write formal letter, informal letters, So your cover letter is like in form of a formal letter that you write to an employer, right? Telling them about you as an individual and why you are applying for that role. So it's like, oh, dear sir, you have, it's just like the rudiments that are necessary for a formal letter is also the same thing you have in your cover letter. So you have like your address, right? The writer address and the receiver address. In most cases, cover letters are sent by email. So you don't usually have like the writer's address like you have in the normal hard copies. So you have like the recipient's address, which is like the person you're writing to, either it's the manager or the person, whoever you're writing to. Then you have your subject, which is usually, if you're using an email, it's usually on the email toolbox that you have like the subject, so you don't need to repeat that again in your cover letter. Then you have your salutation, like dear sir, dear what have you, and then you go by introducing yourself. Sometimes people start with my name is this or that. I am a first year level, probably you are still a student, or a fourth year level graduate of this so school. I'm using a template, just coining a template offhand in relation to the experience level of a lot of persons who are on this call. So most likely you are still in school, or you are just fresh out of school, or you are transitioning. So it's like a brief introduction of who you are. Like it's not necessarily so cover letter is a summary, like a summary report of what your CV would entail. So the CV is giving you space to elaborate more with, you have education aspects, you have the work experience aspects, you have the skill set aspect, you have your personal details aspects. That's your CV. It is more elaborate, but your cover letter is just a summary, and it's about 5 well, sometimes just depending on it should be about 3 paragraphs, not more than, or 2 to 3 paragraphs. So you're looking at how many lines then, almost about 10 lines or approximately 11 lines or so. So it's very short, just 3 paragraphs should make it up for your letter. So it's just like introducing you to your employer, where you are right now, what you want to do, and probably what you're bringing to the table, right? So what's motivated you to sort of want to apply for that role, and how you can contribute to the growth of that company. It's just a brief sentence for each of these points, right? So introducing yourself first, telling us where you are, what you're currently doing, then sometimes it's how you also saw the application. Maybe you cited the application somewhere or something, or it's a referral, or you could say in reference to the application posted on this website or something, you write to tender in your application for this role, and that's like a sentence to begin with for another paragraph. So, and again, in the ending part, it's like giving a call to action to your employer that they should find attached, right, your CV for reference. So it's also a call to action that, okay, I'm attaching following this, my cover letter is an attachment of my CV, which gives you more in-depth to who I am. So it's like a summary. It's introducing you to the employer before they even review your CV. I hope I've been able to answer that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kendi, for that. All right. Jennifer, I have a question for you. And this question is from Naomi. So she's asking, using the WIT method, how do you measure the percentage of productivity on a particular job role when writing a CV?
Sorry, could you say that question again? How do you?
I mean, using the WIT method you explained to us, right? So this person asks, how do you measure the percentage of productivity on a particular job role when writing a CV?
So generally, if you've had if you've had even meetings with your line manager, or depending on exactly how much of your work you have managed to achieve. So you'll be able to know by yourself and say, okay, if maybe you have the effect of what you've done, you can measure it in a sense of, okay, I was able to achieve whether it's 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%, because not all productivity is measured in percentage form. Some of your productivity can be operational. So maybe you've increased, if you're in sales, you've increased, you've increased the sale of product A, or you have reduced the turnover of project B. So based on each product, it is not a set by, how would I say it? It's not a standard procedure in terms of how you measure it, but how successful you were in that job, if I get what I'm trying to say. So what I say about achievements is not necessarily what your employer says is an achievement based on the KPIs they've set for you. It can be your own personal achievement. So you can measure it by how successful you feel you have been on that project. It's not necessarily down to the hiring manager. So you can measure it according to your own comfortability, in a sense of, on a scale of 1 to 10, can you decipher A, B, and C? If you can comfortably say, yes, 70% I can do this, 80% I can do this, then you can write on your CV, I have successfully implemented, because all of these things are going to be deciphered by the person that you'll be interviewed by. So you don't have to necessarily write it in a percentage form, but you can write it in a sense of your capability. So I adequately means that, okay, you did it, but you're not 100%. But if I say I have successfully or I have magnificently, the adjectives you use, anybody who's reading it will be able to attain the level of your productivity. I hope I've answered that correctly. Answered that to her understanding.
Okay, thank you for that, Jennifer. All right, one more question for you, Jennifer.
Yeah.
So I have this question from Eunice Jacob from the YouTube channel, right? She's asking, is it advisable to have a project session that highlights projects done as a newbie with limited experience? And also, what are the sessions where we can add, like, if we have a portfolio, like what part can we add the link to the portfolio on the resume or the CV?
I think it's absolutely essential that you put projects that you've worked on. So either you can put it underneath each job, right? So either you can put it underneath each job, or if they are, what I tend to do is when I'm, reorganizing CVs, I either put them under each job in which those projects have been done, and then at the same time create a notable achievements section that's just before your work experience, and take out all of the important ones, and create a section for them on its own as well. So you'll find that you'll have them twice on the CV, but it doesn't matter, because what you've done is you've taken out. So for example, let me use an example. If I've, increased revenue by 20% by working at Zenith Bank, for example, and then I've also brought in 75 million naira in Access Bank, for example. Even though I will put them under each job, I will still create a section at the top where I've put them all together. So when the recruiter reads through the CVs, you already see the kind of achievements I have made before you read on in the CV. Because as I said in the presentation, you've got 3 to 5 seconds to determine whether I'm going to read on. So if you put all of those things much later in the CV, I might have already shut my brain down and moved on to the next person. But if I can see that you've already worked on projects, which means that you are an active professional developer, then I'm going to read on. So I would say after education and training, you can put projects worked on, then your work experience.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay. I'm going to be directing, because we have quite a lot of questions for our guests on this course. So I would want us to have answers provided to as much as possible. All right. So another question from the YouTube channel. Any of you, either Kendi or Jennifer, you can take this question, right? So this particular question is from Daminola. She's asking if you have transition jobs within the same role and responsibility, do you have to write the role and achievement again for each job experience? I hope it won't make the CV look, boring or repetitive. You can go ahead to answer that.
Okay, the truth of the matter is, there's no way in every single job you've done the same thing twice. There would have been a way you would have, whether it be softwares you've used or whether it been teams you've interacted in, there's a way. It's like saying, I went to the shop on Saturday. I could also said, I went to run errands on Saturday. It's still the same thing. The only difference is that I wasn't really specific about the errands that I went. Shopping is still an errand, right? So the fact is, even if you've done the same job, you can write it in a way that you are highlighting more what you did in those jobs rather than the responsibility. So that's what differentiates what you did in each position. So you can't say, even if you were doing accounting and bookkeeping in one position, you may have been doing reconciliations and settlements in another position. So you're not copying and pasting. What you're doing is you're focusing more on the tasks and the projects and the responsibilities and the actual nitty-gritty of the role, rather than I did this, I did that, because you're now sounding like a robot. you're not showing your skill set, you're not showing your versatility. What you need to be focusing on is what are the key things you did in that role, even though your job title is the same.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Okay, a question for you, Kendi, from the YouTube channel. So this question is from Dara Mola Mary. So she's asking that you mentioned you must have like skills. Like you mentioned some particular skills during the session, right? So she's asking that what are those skills? Like what are they really? What are those skills?
If I'm trying to understand what the question is, so you mean the required skill sets that one must
Yes,
have
yes,
to present?
yes.
I mean, that's quite a complex question. So it's depending on I mean, what you are profiling for as a candidate. I mean, the skill set differs. So you can't just, I mean, everyone has their capacity, everyone has their strengths. So what are you currently doing? I mean, what training are you currently undergoing? What skill sets are you accumulating in the course of the training? Right? So probably you are undergoing a programming course. What are the tech stack, the programming languages and the programming, the frameworks that you're working with? I mean, those are like the skill sets. So you're talking about the technical skill sets in this case, and you're also looking at the soft skill sets. But in most cases, when you're profiling for tech roles, you're most likely trying to make your technical skill set visible to your reviewer, because that's one thing I want to see first before going to see your soft skills, right? Your soft skills in most tech resumes or tech CVs are very silent, right? It's when I am conducting a culture fit interview that I try to assess your soft skills in terms of communication, in terms of leadership, in terms of how you relate to your colleagues and etc. But these soft skills are usually silent in your resume or your CV as a tech person, but your core technical skills must be explicitly written, like the tools that you're using to write or using to carry out tasks are those things. In every JD, even before you apply for a role, they would highlight the requirements. So the requirements there are the skills, they are the required skill sets. And in those requirements, you need to picture what the must-haves are and the nice to have, right? For a data analyst, you know that there are some tools that you must do with in your daily tasks. So those are like the must-have skill sets. You must be able to know how to use those skills, those tools. Those are your skill sets in general. I hope I was able to answer your question to the best of your understanding.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so just another question, right? So someone asking, is it important to add what's it called, pictures to your CV? And again, is this like okay to put your gender to your CV? Like maybe I'm a male or a female. Is it appropriate for you to put pictures on, add your gender to your CV? I mean, either Jennifer or Kendi, you have the liberty to answer the question.
Absolutely not. No, because I didn't think, I mean, what are you hiring me for? Are you hiring me for whether I'm fair skin, dark skin, big head, long head? You're hiring me for my competencies. So I don't think a picture is relevant unless, as Kendi said at one point, unless they explicitly ask for a headshot. But as far as I'm concerned, it is not necessary to put, in fact, when I send CVs to my clients, the things I remove is I remove pictures, I remove date of birth. I even go as far as removing the year you graduated. I remove year you graduated. Sometimes I even remove dependent. Okay, this is maybe not. Sometimes I even remove the grade, but that's sometimes. But the one I can say definitely I remove is year you graduated, date of birth, married status, and pictures. Now, the reason why I removed the year you graduated is because everybody's circumstances are different. Because somebody, and some people, again, tapping on what Kane said about prejudice, is that some people will assume because you graduated in 2019 or 2020, could be that you are a fresh graduate. But what if I'm not a fresh graduate and that was the year that I just finished my degree? So why would you judge me based on when I graduated rather than my skill set? That's number one. And sometimes people also use the year you've graduated to get a rough idea of how old you are. So I want to remove all form of ageism, all form of discrimination, and look at the person purely based on their skill set and nothing more or nothing less. So anything that would give away, even religion, I don't even agree that you should even put religion on a CV either, because it's not anybody's business what your personal beliefs are. If it comes up on an interview and they ask you, you know, even though they shouldn't, but I mean, at the end of the day, we can't, you know, these are the things, these are the bigger problems that we have in the workspace when it comes to diversity and inclusion. That's another conversation for another day. But things that will discriminate you or put you in a box, I will suggest you remove it.
Okay, thank you for that. So, I mean, there are a whole lot of questions for us, right? So, another question is, okay, this person is asking, okay, for someone who would love to get a degree in computer science, but has never been in science classes, right? So, do you have to advise on what advice do you have on what one can do successfully, you know, to transition?
Well, the good thing yeah, so you have an interest in computer science, but you don't have a degree in computer science, but that's the area you want to specialize in. So how would you transition? So the good thing is that we've got a lot of online courses, free courses, Concentra. You've got a lot of courses that are, first and foremost, in terms of the computer science, you have to determine what area of computer science you want to major in, because computer science is quite wide, right? You have a lot of people who study computer science and gone into software engineering. You have people who study computer science. So first and foremost, to determine what area do you really want to specialize, instead of just saying computer science as a whole, right? Seeing as you can't, since you don't want to get it as a degree. So once you determine what area of the sciences, or if you want to do an overall sciences, but you still have to, if you want to build a career, a specific career, you still have to decide exactly what area you want to major in, and then invest in courses that are suffice to get you to where you want to be career-wise. So an employer will not say, as I said, you have some HR managers, I know quite a few of them, and they have a degree in zoology. And you're like, where does zoology and HR come into play? But what they've done is they've done, degrees, they've done professional development courses in CIPD or HRM or CI, I can't remember the other one. But, they've done professional development courses in their chosen specialties that has spoken for them, because their degree may not be what exactly, exactly that they started off with in the beginning. So it's what you do in terms of your professional development after your degree that determines where your career will go after that. So what I would suggest is invest in courses, even if the financial capacity is not there. Start off with a lot of the free courses. They're making courses online now very affordable. You can pay them instrumentally, sit down with mentors, just try as much as possible to expose yourself both online, offline, and academically in the best place, in as much as you can, and leverage on that in your CV as well. Because that's the mistake that some people make. So, for example, if you're trying to transition, what skill set do you have already that can be maximized on your CV? So for example, if you've worked a lot with spreadsheets and you've inputted data into spreadsheets, you've calculated money using formulas in Excel, you can use those experiences in a data analytical role or a data entry role. So it's all about looking at what it is you have done and saying, how can I transition this experience into my CV to show that I may not be an expert, but I have exposure to A, B, and C. So look at what you've done and transition that into a working job.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, so another question for Kendi. This question is from you too. So Sarah is asking, during your explanation and the details and contents were given to us as regards to you and positioning yourself, right? So you mentioned about volunteering rules, right? As it counts, as experiences, right? So this person, Sarah, is asking that, what do you think on having a separate part for volunteering, even when you don't have prior work experience?
Can you come again? I think the question is not yet.
It's not clear, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so the question is, during your session, you were explaining about the importance of volunteering and how it counts in, work experiences, right?
Yeah.
So, now this particular question is like, okay, what do you think on having a separate part for volunteering, even when you don't have a prior work experience? Do you get the question now?
So when you say separate parts, you mean like a section in the CV?
Yes, yes.
Clearly gives the interviewer like overview of the volunteering.
Yes,
so
yes.
You don't want to like put yourself in a position where you are perceived by the employer as somebody who does not have any like work experience. Now we are using the case study of someone who is like an entry level who does not have like work experience now, and all that you have is voluntary experience. You don't need to like distinguish and say this is like all voluntary experience. I can remember in Jennifer's submission, she mentioned that job roles do not, or JDs do not explicitly say that this work experience that you need to have has to be paid or non-paid. So you don't want to put yourself in that tight position of like appealing to your interviewer as someone who does not have work experience, but just like side gigs or side projects. So you want to like present yourself like somebody who has like commendable work experience and can function well in the new role while also learning on it as an entry level person. So my own suggestion is that you do not like distinguish between them, right? It's in unless otherwise stated, because I usually use this case scenario because sometimes we don't have a fit size or for call for application. Employers or interviewers could explicitly say that in the application that we need people's like they could state some of those categorization, but my overall suggestion is that don't have a separate section if you do not have like a work experience. All that you can do is to put in brackets. Sometimes if you don't want to maybe sound like you're misleading your interviewer, to put in brackets and say it's a voluntary job, right? So they know that, okay, this is voluntary. And in case that you are called for an interview and they need you to speak more on the role and the job expectation and whatsoever that you've done in that capacity, they already have like an idea that, okay, this was a voluntary role because you stated it right in the bracket that it's a voluntary job. But if you have professional work experience, then you can go the extra mile to sort of like have a different session for your core work experience and then the voluntary work. But if you don't have like professional experience, let your voluntary experience be like your core work. And so if I'm relating with you as an employer, I can now dig down into what you did in that role, and I can have a feeling that, okay, it was purely a voluntary basis and not like you were paid to do those activities.
Okay, that's great. That's insightful. All right. Another question. This will be directed to Jennifer. Okay, so this question is from Ayomide Adebayo. So she says, my question is about experience that are in non-tech background, right? So she said that she previously worked as a customer service representative, and she's transitioning into cybersecurity. So is it advisable to add such experience in your CV?
Yes, but what you will do is you will not, so basically with the customer service, I know you are, depending on, what industry, or depending on whether you're working in a shop or depending on, customer service, you could also look at it from a technical perspective of customer service. So, i.e., are you using systems to input data? If you're in a call center environment, are you inputting data? Do you go through, or if you're in a bank and doing customer services, you go through security or can you tell me your name or your date of birth, or, so there's ways that any role you have, knowing for where you're trying to transition into, you can focus on the area that is relevant to cybersecurity. So for example, as I said, I gave an example, even if you're working in the shop floor with customers, if they're buying something, you still need to input it into a system. If you're issuing refunds, there's a certain process you need to do to issue a refund. So don't focus so much on the hi, greeting customers, hi, how are you? But focus more on the IT side of customer services, which you can then relate to cybersecurity. Well, obviously it's not relatable, but it's transitionable, because you're dealing with systems, you're dealing with, if it's, as I said, if it's online or telephone, you still have to go through some form of security or verification when you're dealing with customer accounts. So focus more on the area of customer services that is linked to IT or systems or security.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jennifer, for that. All right. So I would like to ask, Kende and Jennifer, since we've gone past the time, so I would want to know, like, how many minutes do you think you can stay, spare to, answer some of the questions that we have for you? And again, as regards asking for, your social media handle and platforms that you can connect with you on. So I don't know who might want to go first, like just, minutes you can spare.
Well, I've actually had to cancel my 12 o'clock, so I'm pretty much free now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I still got a few
Thanks,
more
Jennifer.
It's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so Kendi, I don't know about
I mean, I can do with 10 minutes more, sort of.
10 minutes more. Okay, okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Kendi.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so just a few questions now, right? So this particular one, it could be, you can just, any of you can just provide answers to it because it's quite short. So this question is from Eunice. She's asking, please, for the link to add to the portfolio, what section should it be included in?
Sorry, could you say that again? Because I think we've answered this, but could you just say it again, just in case?
Okay. I think the question has been answered, but just to just provide clarity to it. So this is asking, for the link to the portfolio, at what section should it be included?
Portfolio. So if you are, so for a technical role, portfolio links, I believe, should, like I said before, you could be under each project. If it's a project, if the portfolio link is for a specific project, you can put them under each position, or if you just want to give an overview, you can put it after, just after education and training courses, you can put portfolio or projects managed. I wouldn't even call it portfolio. I would just say projects worked on or projects managed. Because if you just put portfolio, an employer may look at it and say, what kind of links are these? So you can just rename it either projects managed or projects worked on. But I think that should go before work experience so that they can have an of the important ones, and then also you can put them under each job.
Okay, thank you. So this question is for you, Kendi. Just two questions for you to just answer before you leave. Right. So this person is asking, how do I figure out the communities that place people for job opportunities? Okay, did you get that?
Yeah, I did. Thank you, Ayotomide. So getting to know about these communities boils down to the kind of network you've been able to niche out for yourself. And if you remember how I started off my session was to kick off with you having fun with research. I mean, you need to understand the industry that you are playing in. You need to know the people that are playing in that industry. You need to also have an idea of companies that are playing in that industry as well. So having an idea of this gives you hedge to know about communities that exist and help people place jobs. So if I'm aloof of like my industry, then I don't even know people that are in that industry, talk little or knowing of the communities that exist. And like I said, the connection that you build some sort assists you in projecting you for other communities as well. A friend of this friend tells a friend of this friend that this community exists, and they help you to get jobs. And another way to go about it is, because I know a lot of us, including myself, we could be introverted, and then we don't make friends easily, aside from.
Sorry, Deborah, please kindly mute your mic. Deborah.
Okay, I think we're all good now. So aside from like the online network that we build and then makes us seem as if we're explicitly extroverts, so you want to also leverage the importance of social network. I mean, to get yourself acquainted to the communities. You can also easily Google, communities or like companies that are tech recruitment companies. You would see quite a number of them, and then they will give you breakdown of how you can join the talent pipeline, right? So these are information that are easily available for you to get online, but it is easier for you to get this information through referrals by people you know, people who are playing in that domain. I hope I was able to answer that to the best of your understanding.
I'm sure. I'm sure she fellow gets the answers. It's really great that you provide answers to that particular question, and it's really insightful. Okay, so one more question for you, Kendi. This question is from Clementina. She's asking, please, what's the difference between when recruiters ask for a number of years in relevant or specific experience in a role and generally asking for experience? Did you get that?
Yeah, I did. Absolutely. It's a very straightforward question. So the answer is, the interviewer is also trying to understand the years of experience you have hands-on with the required skill sets for that role, right? If you are applying for a data analyst role, that question is implying that how many years have you been working with the required tools in analyzing data, as against how many years of professional experience you have in total doing other things. You just want to clearly identify that, okay, as much as you have 15 years of work experience, you've only had 5 hands-on experience in the tech industry. So it makes sense sometimes to ask those questions, right? So it's just you being able to understand. You are the champion of your own career path. You know yourself better than any other person knows you. So you should have a grasp of all of this. Like, I know how long I've been working. I know how long I've worked in the tech recruitment space. I know how long I have worked in the non-profit sector. I know how long I've been hands-on in building tech startup. So these are like personal details that I know. And then if you ask me, I can easily share with you if like you are in the right position to ask me these questions. So yeah, that's just it.
All right, so one last question. So this question is from Damilola. So she's asking, is there a section for personal skills or technical skills in CV? Kendi?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah. So there's a session for skills. Like I really would encourage that you have a session for your skill. Like even non-tech roles demand that you have that skills. And if you remember when I was giving my submission earlier, I said if I'm reviewing CVs manually, one of the first parts that I want to see is your skill sets, like the session that has the detail of your skill set, because I have limited time to review a number of CVs every day. And then what I want to do is I want to see if the person I'm profiling has what I'm looking out for, right? Maybe perhaps I'm looking for a full stack engineer, and then you must have skill sets. Is you need to have JavaScript, TypeScript, React, MongoDB, AWS. Those are like the required skill set that I'm looking at. So if I go to your skills session and I find all of this there, then I would immediately flag your CV as like one I have to look again, right? And then if I'm using the tools that I use to sort CVs, Immediately I type in all of these required skill sets, JavaScript, TypeScript, React, MongoDB, AWS as my must-have. It will give me only profiles that have this skill set. So it has eliminated anybody who does not have these things, right? I don't have to stress myself. I'm saying, oh, I'm looking at somebody, but maybe perhaps the person we have, but the person did not put it on their CV. So that's why you need to be strategic in time of like writing your CV. And that's why I said there is no fit size for CVs, right? You want to be very clear that whatever job that you're applying for, you know what they demand in terms of the skill set, and you have that written in your CV. So in the time of shortlisting candidates, your profile will be shortlisted because your CV carries that the skill sets. And another way to it, I think finally, another way to it is in highlighting your work experience. I mean, this is most to people who have professional experience, but I mean, we are learning. So you don't know what the next year would be now. You've gathered all of the professional experience. So you may want to have this, right, Andy, in your future career, that in the progression of your career, that when you're writing your CV, you can also highlight the tools that you've worked with in each of the roles or the capacities. Take, for instance, you worked with A&B Microfinance Bank as a UI UX designer. What are the tools that you used in that role? You can highlight them down in when you're highlighting your achievements. Now, probably you did this and this using this and this tool. So if I'm looking at your resume, another way for me to know that you have hands-on on that skill set is that you use that tool to achieve a task in that job role. So it's two-way, but most often always have a specific session for your skill sets. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kendi. So this question just quickly, I would not be able to provide maybe relate so many questions because of the time you've given to us, right? Just to make you go on with business of the day, right? So just this last question. So this person is asking, would you advise one to apply for a job vacancy that indicates entry level but specified a minimum of 2 years experience?
So you're asking would you advise?
Like, okay, for example, I want to apply as an entry level person, right? So let me say the job vacancy, the requirement is saying minimum of 2 years. So what advice would you give to that person? Like, would you advise the person to go ahead applying, or just maybe sitting back and not bothering anymore?
Okay, so if you're as I said, if you're an entry level candidate, but you have experience working in other capacities that equal up to 2 years, then I would apply for it. Because what is entry level? Entry level for some people is 0 to 2 years experience. Some people may say entry level is 0 to 1 year's experience. If they're saying a minimum of 2 years experience, then you're really not talking about entry level. You're talking about at least somebody with like 3 years experience. So if you've got the capacity in terms of what you've done, as I said, not all experience has to be in the workplace. They're saying minimum of 2 years experience. You could have been in university working as an accountant or working inputting data in a school library for 2 years. That's 2 years experience. They didn't say 2 years experience working in an office or 2 years experience working here. All they said is 2 years. So if you have 2 years experience working in any capacity, be it in university, be it volunteering, be it in an internship, then I would apply. But if you're saying that you don't have, any experience at all, then I wouldn't waste both your time or the recruiter's time, because it's actually disheartening when you apply for a role and you know that you're not qualified for it, and then when they don't call you back, you start feeling bad. But then you now have to ask yourself, but really, in terms of other people who are applying, where would you say on a scale of 1 to 10 you will sit? And this brings me again to where this whole tailoring your CV for a specific role, this is what I believe dampens the morale of a lot of people who are applying for jobs. If you continue to tailor your CV for every job you apply for, you're going to end up with 10 billion CVs. That's number one. Number two, even if you match the job description with your CV, if you don't have that expertise, you still won't get the job anyway. You may get the interview, and you'll be excited that you got the interview. But by the time you sit down with the hiring manager and they dissect your experience and realize all you have done is matched the job description with your CV, you're not going to get a job anyway. And then every interview you go to, you're going to be disheartened every time. It's going to knock your confidence every time. So what I would suggest is focus on what you know and maximize and emphasize on your expertise. One that you can talk about comfortably, one that you can deal with comfortably, and apply for those roles that suit your expertise. I guarantee you, if you do that, not only will you get the job, even if you don't get the job, your confidence will grow because you know you didn't get the job, not because your expertise were not up to par, but it was just one factor or another.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. All right, so we've come to the end right now. So just quickly, I don't know if you might want to share with us some CV templates that we could possibly work with. Either Jennifer or Kendi.
Okay,
I don't know if
I can show you
like
one briefly right now, but if you can just hold on a second, the person has a little bit more, where is it? Experience, but it's just to give you an idea of the kind of CVs that I format. Right. I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So if you can see the profile, machine learner with a background in independent research using web-based architecture. So you can see, if you can see that profile, there's nothing like enthusiastic, hardworking, and all of those kind of things. It's just straight to the point. This is who I am and what I do, right? Then if you look down, you will see, oh, sorry, I need to move this over, hold on. Okay, yeah. Now, if you look down, you see area of expertise. So this is the areas that they have worked in or they have experience in: data mining, engineering, languages, Python, business intelligence, SQL, just an overview of the kind of skill set they have, right? Then education, as you can see, degree and a certificate that they've done. So just because this person hasn't done any other extra courses, after education, this is where I would put, if you've done courses with Coursera, if you've done LinkedIn courses, if you've done any professional membership, you're a member of data science, as in tech dev, if you're an ambassador, or this is where you would put that all under, education and training, right? Then we go into professional work experience. Now, can you see the kind of words that I was talking about? Created, composed, conducted, transformed, built, designed, collaborated, all using descriptive words to explain what they've done. So collaborated with developers and performance engineers to enhance portability and identify performance bottlenecks. I've told you exactly what I did. I've told you why I did it. So even with the weak methodology, you might not use all of them in one bullet point, but you will use some of them, the what you do and the how and the why. So, again, data engineer, developed, provided, evaluated, designed, scaled, you're talking about yourself in a more descriptive manner, right? And if you can see, the CV is clean, it's concise. Anybody who's seen it, you can see it's easy on the eye. References available on request. So this person, from 2009, 20, like 3 years work experience. So with 3 years, that CV has managed to be about 3 pages. Right. So this is a clear example of, it's nice, it's clean, it's easy to read. You've captured my attention at the top with a very short but very descriptive, on point example of who I am and what I want to do. So A CV that is clean and well laid out is definitely going to get any recruiter's attention.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. We wouldn't mind if you could possibly, share this slide with us.
Yes, I'll send that across as well. I'll just obviously remove that was a company I was consulting for. So I'll remove the logo and share just a plain one just for you to see. But that was just an example for me to quickly go over with you guys so you can have an idea of what a clean, crisp, detailed CV looks like.
All right, thank you. All right, so now we are ending the session. So just if you have any last words for our fellows, Kendi, would you want to go first?
Yeah, I think last words would be that keep positioning yourself right for open opportunities, and then when those opportunities arises, ensure that you're prepared for them. It's not that when they come, you are not prepared enough, and try as much as possible to ensure that you are as visible as possible in the online spaces, particularly the professional social media platforms where you can easily get ideas about job openings, about opportunities to collaborate and to learn more, and don't stop learning. Yeah, I hope this helps in your journey venturing into the core professional tech world.
All right, thank you. Would also want you to drop your platforms at which you can connect with you with. Basically maybe on LinkedIn, any of your social media that would want to drop for us, or to connect with you, Kendi?
Yeah, I mean, the most accessible platform is LinkedIn. I'm Kendi Kayode on LinkedIn. I'm just going to type that in the chat box. You feel free to connect with me. Yeah, I mean, you can also connect with me on Twitter, but my most active anyways is LinkedIn.
All right, thank you, Kendi. So Jennifer, any last words for the fellows, and again, portable platforms at which you can connect with you with?
Okay, last words I will say is never stop learning, never stop developing yourself. This doesn't have to necessarily be in the academic space, but always be open to being a sponge, knowing what's going on around you and knowing how you can implement that into your career growth. So always look at every meeting as an opportunity. Always look at how you can be the best version of yourself. And this doesn't necessarily mean from a personality or professional perspective, but what is unique in my market? So what is the new thing coming up? How can I use that to leverage on my career? And always be open to trying new things and stop being a creature of habit. I know naturally we're all creatures of habit, but try and step out of our comfort zone and just embrace the career journey. Because as I say, a career journey is not one straight path. A rocket goes up into the sky horizontally, sorry, and a plane takes off vertically, but they all meet in the sky. So don't compare your career to somebody else's career path. Own your own journey. Every journey is unique. It's not about how fast you get there. It's about the quality of your journey and the intention of your journey. So don't be pressured by, oh, this person's got this great job or this person is working here. Just focus on your own journey. Walk your own walk.
All right, thank you.
As for social media handles, I'll put it in the box.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kendi. Thank you very much again, Jennifer. So I mean, it was really great to really learn a lot from you as regards how to write a CV, how to position yourself for opportunities, and so many things that we really need to know, right? And again, before we allow you to leave the call, right? So we want the fellows to, drop emojis, give me your reactions to, just make our guests feel that, oh, this session was really great, that you guys really enjoyed it, right? So just drop your emojis, drop your reactions, drop everything possible you make you feel excited about this. So we get to know how best enjoy this.
Thanks, Jennifer. We're so grateful for your time. You can't see all the comments on YouTube, but I promise you we had a blast. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. And ladies, please don't forget to connect with them on social media and then tweet about the session, post about the session, and tag the facilitators today on LinkedIn like we usually do. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Once again. So Jennifer, you can leave the call and get on with business of the day, right? So thank you very much for your time. And we're
You're
really happy to have
welcome.
you.
Thank you very much, Tech Dev. It was great to meet you all. Tech for Dev.
Thank you for having me as well. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Okay. Man, that was great. Okay. Just to reiterate, the page for our guests. So Jennifer's LinkedIn page is her name, Jennifer Oyelade. So if you search Jennifer Oyelade on LinkedIn, you're going to get her name on, you're going to get her profile, right? And again, for Kehinde, so also our LinkedIn profile, our name, if you're looking for our LinkedIn name is also our name, right? Kehinde Kayode, that's our name. So you can check them up on, on LinkedIn. And yeah, you can check them up on LinkedIn and, you just get to connect with them. And it's game, like Noka mentioned, right? So it's really important for, just to comment about this session on LinkedIn. You tag the facilitators, right? The guests, tag them on LinkedIn. How best you've really enjoyed this session. Just let us know that, okay, you really like this session was really insightful. It was great, right? So go on LinkedIn, drop feedback, drop your reaction, drop comments on how you really feel about this particular session, right? And again, you can tag the guests on every post you make on LinkedIn, right? All right, so thank you very much, fellows. I mean, I'm thanking you all once again, and we're really great that you really enjoyed this, right? Okay, so okay, yeah, thank you for the feedback, Damilola. I'm just in this. So the slides are going to be shared with you guys, right? So we are going to get in the slides, right? As promised from from Jennifer, right? So you're going to be getting the slides. All right, I'm saying thank you once again. Telling you guys to get prepared for the session that's going to come up next week. So next week, you're going to be talking about acing your interviews, right? How to ace interviews. So this time around, we are still going to be getting, facilitators and guests that are going to give us details and so many things I want to learn on how to ace interviews and, still pushing us to, climb the professional ladder and attaining that success and that growth that we all wish to, get and achieve, right? All right. Thank you all once again. And I'm going to be seeing you all next week. Bye for now.
Bye.